Hey YouTube, my name is DC and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about how much money I'm expecting to earn with MSTY with 1,000 shares going forward. I have a Excel here where I did a breakout for the future distributions I'm expecting on MSTY. In column A I have the year, so I have years 1 through 5 is my projection. In column B, I have the payout number. You'll notice that there's 13 payouts every single year. MSTY pays on a 4-week basis and not a monthly basis, so that's why there's 13 there. For the share price, I'm going to assume just around $20 to $23. That's kind of where I see MSTY kind of staying. Over here, I have 1,000 shares as my starting, and you can kind of see, assuming that we're going to be dripping, the shares are going to increase every single month, and it's kind of gets to a ridiculously large number. The dividend, I'm going to assume, is going to stay around the $1 to $1.50 range. That's kind of a low end on the estimates. Last month's distribution was $2.37. So I kind of expect the dividend to actually fall anywhere between $1.30 and $2.50 on the average, but we'll just kind of keep all the dividends at $1.47 for like a low end estimate. Column F here has the distribution. This is just a formula multiplying how many shares we have by the distribution to give us the monthly payout. Column G is a formula to tell us, given the share price, how many shares can we buy with the drip. And then column H is going to be the total investment value that we have, assuming we drip and the NAV stays stable. So starting with the 1,000 shares, my first distribution, I'll show you guys here. My first distribution with 1,000 shares, I got the full $1.47 per share, so $1,470 in total. And I already dripped all of that. I actually made a mistake where I didn't realize I had it on drip, so I actually bought an additional 75 shares. So I'm kind of at this distribution payout number 3 area. So the total value of the investment I have is about $25,000 on a given day, and I'm kind of expecting a distribution of $1,700 for the next month, assuming it stays the same at $1.47. This chart's really cool. You can kind of see how quickly this compounds every single month. At the end of the first year, you end up with $47,000 from $21,000. So the MSTY return is kind of incredible if the math works out. Then the NAV stays stable. My goal share count, or I don't have a share count goal, but my goal with MSTY is to kind of average $10,000 a month in distributions. I think that would be a pretty comfortable number for me to retire at. And you can kind of see that the distributions kind of start getting in that range once we get into year 3, around the 4th or 5th distribution cycle. Is kind of when you see that dividend getting up to $10,000 and more. Now, I don't think MSTY is going to just maintain a steady dividend and just experience no NAV erosion or anything. I do foresee there being a period of time where Bitcoin struggles, and then MSTR has some downward movement, and we see that the dividend decline a little bit, or the share price and NAV erode a little bit. But I think overall, we're going to be able to collect a pretty hefty premium using MSTY. My goal here is not necessarily share appreciation. I don't really care what the total investment value in column H is, as long as they consistently pay me out, anywhere between $1 and $2.50. My long-term play here is more of an income play rather than a share appreciation play. I do think that you can get similar, if not better, more consistent returns just buying things like the Mag 7, Tesla, Apple, Nvidia. If that's your thing, growth, I do think is a great way to invest. But for me personally, I want to set myself up to where I could have truly passive income. Once I kind of hit that $10,000 per month, I am going to take a few distributions in cash just to kind of pay off my initial if Misty's still around by then. And then that way I can kind of not worry about it and just continue to drip and let it um, continue to pay me in the future. Now, this is all a perfect scenario, but I do think even if you're getting, like a 50% yield, that this is still an amazing investment vehicle. You know, the S&P is getting 8 to 12% yearly as an average. So I think anything over that would just be incredible to get. I do know the first year that Misty launched, they had a over 200% gain if you did drip and just held the shares, which is incredible. I really don't foresee that continuing to happen forever. Bitcoin kind of hit some resistance here at $100,000, $110,000, and I have seen MSTR went up like 200% plus in that time that Bitcoin did this rally. So I know that these huge distributions might not be around forever, um, but recently, even without all that crazy movement, to average like $1.50 in distribution is pretty good to me. I will be happy once we start seeing $4 distributions again, but I'm not necessarily expecting that. Another thing I do want to talk about is Misty has this 4-year rule concept where your initial investment, the dollar amount of it, if you hold on to that for 4 years, that'll become your monthly distribution. So, assuming you have 1,000 shares, that's a $20,000 investment. You can kind of see at the 4-year mark, your distribution every month starts becoming $20,000, which is really cool. The math works out in a way that, you know, you can kind of easily predict where you'll be in 4 years, assuming you drip. One thing to consider, this is not including any taxes. I do have Misty in a taxable account. I do think that this might be a better vehicle to hold in a Roth IRA or something like that, which is like a tax deferred account. But I kind of want to use the money earlier than when I plan to retire. So this is why I kind of have it in that account. We could quickly take a look at these other tabs I have set up. I ran the same exact analysis with 500, 250, and 100 shares just so we can kind of see different numbers. I think having 1,000 shares to start off might be a little bit unrealistic for most people. I've kind of been saving a long time, and this is a little over half my portfolio at this point. But I do believe in the long term game, and I have had pretty positive experiences with YieldMax products so far. I kind of got lucky and timed it to where I received a lot of capital appreciation as well as received distributions in that time on several tickers that they offer. So I'm a big believer in this product. And you can kind of see the results are pretty good with a $10,000 investment. In 5 years, you can, hopefully get $50,000 monthly distribution. Um, Even then, like that's an incredible amount of money. Just how quickly the total dollar amount of your investment can compound, assuming the NAV and the dividend both stay stable. So this tab has a $5,000 investment, 250 shares. I think this is kind of where it starts getting more realistic for a lot of people. $5,000 is still a ton of money, but this is something that I was able to save, and I'm just like a few years into my career. So I think this is something kind of realistic that you could look to get. But even $5,000 starting, like it's incredible how quickly your money could grow if you leave it there and let it drip with a vehicle like this. Finally, we have 100 shares starting with about $2,000. It's still incredible how quickly your money grows. If you were to leave $2,000 in the S&P 500 for the same amount of time, you could expect, at most like 50 to 100% gain on your investment. And the MSTY projections are saying that you're going to have $154,000 in investment after just 5 years. Like, it's incredible, the math on this. And it just continues to pay you out monthly too. Again, this is a perfect scenario where everything stays stable and we could just collect premium. But historically, for the last year and a half since the inception, MSTY has been performing, and I really don't have much of a reason to doubt the team and why it won't continue performing similarly in the future. I think recently people are kind of discovering income ETFs and covered call ETFs, and I think there's going to be a huge market for this going forward. I remember last year when JEPI and JEPQ, those kind of products came out, I was big into investing in those. But now that we have these ETFs focused on delivering a weekly or monthly premium, I definitely think that these are going to be staying around. I will do a video in the future where we kind of talk about the NAV erosion of MSTY, and kind of why MSTY hasn't suffered from that. I've actually seen that the NAV has gone up slowly over the last few months, but we'll talk about that later. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that little breakdown. I'm still getting used to this whole YouTube thing and just practicing and having fun making these videos. I know this isn't the cleanest way to do this, but this is kind of something I put together to help me visualize my long-term goals. And so far, I can kind of see that I'm tracking along pretty well. So I'm really excited to see how the first year goes. I'm going to do an annual kind of update on my MSTY holdings and just kind of share, is my total share count increasing at the rate I'm expecting it to? Are the distributions holding up? And so on and so forth. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching the video. If you like the content, please comment, like, and subscribe. Until next time.